Hi, this is Dharmada.
Hi, this is Arvind.
We are on the way to the Animal Rights March 2019 in downtown Los Angeles.
Why do you think it's important to be at the Animal Rights March?
I think it's important to be at the Animal Rights March because we need to shed light on this issue and we need to wake this world up and educate others and really draw attention because this is a very important topic that affects everyone and most importantly for me, the animals. But globally, on a human level, for the planet, this is a very serious issue and we need to act now. We don't have any more time.
I think it's important for all vegans to be here just because we are a minority of people. So any amount of vegans that come out just from being the minority, all of us being here together, it really is showing people that we're so diverse. There's so many of us. And I think doing any kind of activism like this is really important for the animals, not just like buying stuff online, but actually coming out and being an activist. It's really important for the animals. Yeah.
I think it's important for people to speak up for the animals. I personally don't think we should be using the word rights, but I think it's important that people who care about animals recognize that what we're doing to animals as a society is out of touch with what most of us think is good. And so we should all band together to try to do more for the animals.
I'm here to march for the animals.
Have no excuse. Nobody has an excuse. Taste buds are no excuse. Because we've always done it this way is no excuse. There will never be an excuse. Justice for animals! Justice for animals! Justice for animals! Justice for animals!
So Zoe is a 17-year-old animal rights activist. And as the founder of Happy Hen Animal Sanctuary, she has dedicated her life towards rescuing animals and sharing their stories to inspire change. She is also an organizer and social media coordinator with the grassroots animal liberation network, Direct Action Everywhere. Please welcome Zoe Rosenberg, everybody. Please give it up. Don't hold back those claps with her, please. She deserves every single one of those claps, y'all.
This issue is one of urgency. And as much as I hate to say it, these lives are not being saved by our food choices. They are not being saved because we choose to eat a veggie burger. Sure, it all helps. But what really needs to happen is that we need to rise up and take bold action. We cannot remain in the dark. We cannot allow our voices to be silenced by these dangerous corporations. When you walk into a slaughterhouse, you will understand just how much our silence is betrayal. I have seen the dismembered heads of innocent animals littering the ground. Their eyes still wide open as they had been when they had died. Their eyes still pleading for help, even in death. eyes terrified, yet hoping that maybe, just maybe, somebody might help them. I want all of you to imagine, just imagine for a second, that you are a non-human animal in this brutal world. Imagine having your babies taken away from you, or worse, beaten and killed right in front of you. Imagine being slammed against concrete because you didn't grow fast enough for industry standards. Imagine screaming in pain until your throat is raw. Imagine choking on your own blood. Imagine being forced into a gas chamber, banging on the door and fighting for your life as you suffocate and die. Imagine going through these things with no hope, with no one speaking up for you, with no one even knowing that you exist. That is how animals feel every single day. That is how animals feel right now. And that is why we must speak for them. We must go to them. We must risk everything and rescue them. We must stop business as usual.
We have Priya here, who is a co-founder of the Global Animal Rights Network, Direct Action Everywhere. Yeah, no, give it up, everyone. You don't have to hold back your claps here, all right? Yeah? Her investigatory work has been featured in the New York Times and Washington Post and has reached tens of millions via social media. She is currently one of 6 investigators facing, oh my gosh, wait a minute, how many does it say? Priya, facing 7 felony charges? It's 8 now? Congratulations. 8 felony charges in California related to mass open rescues, and hopes to use the case to establish the legal right to rescue animals in need, while effectively banning factory farming statewide. Please welcome Priya Sawhney, everybody. Come on now.
Thank you so much for the introduction. I'm so honored to be over here. And I want you to imagine walking inside of a farm or a slaughterhouse and being able to legally rescue animals who are collapsed on their backs, who are forced to stand on top of the dead bodies of their friends, who are denied access to food and water. And what if I tell you that you already have this legal right in the state of California? But the authorities in the state are refusing to recognize our legal right because they are scared of activists going inside of these places and giving the public a window into what's happening behind these abusive companies and corporations. Because they are trying to protect industries which make millions of dollars off of the brutalized, tortured bodies of these innocent animals. Because they don't want you, don't want me, don't want anyone to know what's really happening behind these closed doors. But in California, according to California Penal Code 597E, you and me and every single resident of this state, we have a legal right to enter a facility if we know that criminal animal abuse is happening inside. And I've been an investigator with Direct Action Everywhere for 6 years, and let me tell you some of the things that I have found. I have walked inside of a slaughterhouse and rescued a baby quail who was quivering and shivering and shaking because she was awaiting slaughter in a trash can, about to have her throat slit. If that is not criminal animal abuse, then I don't know what is. I have seen my friends chain themselves to the same conveyor belt where millions of ducks are hung upside down and have their throats slit every single day. If that is not criminal animal abuse, then I don't know what is. And with my own eyes and with my own hands, I have tried to rescue a dying baby calf from a massive dairy farm where she was thrown away like garbage while she was still alive. If that is not criminal animal abuse, then what is? I know that in our lifetime, and even sooner than that, within the next few years, we will establish the legal right to rescue animals in California. Let me give you 3 reasons why. The first reason is because California is a state of animal lovers. If you don't believe me, just look at how Californians have historically voted on animal rights issues. Every time a Californian has a chance to support animal rights legislation and propositions, they always choose to help animals, every single time. Number 2, it's not just in California. There is a global movement rising. Activists from Australia to India to Belgium to France are locking themselves down, chaining themselves to the gates of slaughterhouses, and walking inside and rescuing animals from abuse. And there's just one reason for that, and that is that a global movement is rising, and the entire world is starting to see that animal rights movement is not just a silly movement, that it is a social justice movement, a real social justice movement. Last but not least, activists around the world are happily walking into police lines, are getting arrested because they know that we have the power to transform repression into liberation. I want to take you back to last September when my friends and I were thrown in jail and 9 chickens who we tried to rescue were killed. But at that sad day, there was one beautiful story. And that story is about a chicken that we named Rose. Rose was the sole survivor of an action at the largest organic poultry producer in the nation, Petaluma Poultry. And the reason that she was saved, besides the fact that activists risked their freedom to go and save her, risked arrest, is because a police officer who was supposed to be arresting activists said, "I can't send her back." She was sick, she was weak, unable to stand, and on the brink of death. Folks, if a police officer who's supposed to be arresting us can understand the right to rescue, I guarantee you that the entire state of California and the world can too.
Gwenna Hunter is the founder of Vegans of LA and the community outreach coordinator for Vegan Outreach. She's been vegan now for a little over 3 years and went vegan after having a supernatural experience with a cow. Come on, y'all, we've all had that, right? No? Am I alone on that? No? Okay. Please give it up wholeheartedly for Gwenna Hunter, everybody. Come on. Come on now. Come on now.
I remember the day I went vegan and I connected all the dots that I realized have been given to me my entire life. But we know we all have this thing called cognitive dissonance. And that day, it was a video that I saw called Dairy is Effing Scary. And what made me connect wasn't just the fact that I was watching animals go through abuse. It was the fact that I actually connected as a being. It wasn't about a cow and a calf and me being a human. It was about us being one. And when I saw the type of abuse that they go through after realizing that animals actually love, something that I hadn't considered at one point in my life, and I saw what they do to her body, I saw how we take advantage of her breasts, how we take their children, and how we abuse them. There was no question in my mind that I would be vegan. And after having that experience, I went through something, I think a lot of us go through something where we regret or wish that we had been vegan a lot sooner. And I don't know if anyone here, and this is totally voluntary, has anyone here ever experienced any form of abuse? Emotional, physical, violence, not having autonomy over your own body at the hand of another human, neglect, bullying. It's all a form of oppression that we just kind of inherited coming into this planet. And sometimes we are that person that dishes out the bullying, dishes out the oppression, dishes out the abuse. And what I've learned being a human being is that sometimes the very thing that you fight hard against, the thing that you really want to advocate for the most, you have to be careful because sometimes you can become that thing that you despise. And one of the things that keeps me connected to this movement, because I know what abuse feels like as well. And so for me, it's not just about spirituality, it's not just about a diet, it's about wanting to change the entire planet and make us become one. Now, I'm a woman, I'm a Black woman, I have all these different labels I can throw onto myself, but we are one race, we're all on this planet together for some odd reason. You could be on Pluto somewhere, you could be in another solar system, but for some reason we're all here together. And I say that to say, oftentimes in this movement, we get so frustrated. One of the things that I struggle with regularly, I struggle sometimes in my activism being kind. I struggle being compassionate. I struggle having patience. I struggle listening to people make excuses for why they don't want to be vegan or for why they tried it for 2 years and they had to go back. I struggle. But even with that struggle, one thing that I do know is that everybody on this planet, for the most part, we're all victims of a really dark, ugly, violent system. We've all been programmed since birth in different areas to dislike each other, to judge each other based on complexion, to judge each other based on size, on height, where we live, our zip codes, how much money we have. That's right. And all of that it's all interrelated. All oppression comes from the same dark system. It all comes from the same exact system. I don't have to really watch a video about animal abuse to know what it's like to have your human rights or your rights at all violated. You can turn on the news. You see people being put into cages, children put into cages, not having any form of nurturing, not having any access to health care, clean water, food. Who else does that sound like? You can say that for humans and you can say that for animals. So I say that to say, oftentimes in this movement, and I know I'm guilty of it, we become so compassionate or so passionate about different ways to get this done and to solve this problem. And one of the things that we need to learn to do better in this movement is to love on each other. And I don't think we do that enough. Infighting is going to happen, drama is going to happen, but we need to have more forgiveness towards each other. You know, as I look in the audience, I don't see a lot of Black people. And I would love to see that. Hey, sisters, hey. Beautiful, beautiful. I want more. I want to see more of us. All right. And one of the ways is to allow people, and I know one of the things that we have issues with in this movement is dealing with intersectionality. We often say that the animals don't have a voice and to just use our platform to talk about the animals, but let me tell you something, that shit is hard to do. When you deal with oppression in your daily life, when you see your friends going through it, when you watch it on television, it is all connected. It is all part of the same system. And one of the things that we should also consider is when we glorify our hatred for other humans, and trust me, I understand. I struggle with having compassion for humanity. I want us to liberate animals already. I want humans to be liberated already. But one of the things that dealing with humans is that, again, everyone's a part of the same oppressive system. And hatred is now a verb. You can now turn on the news and see what hatred causes. And there's no room for that in our movement. And so what you want to do with that hatred is go out and protest. Use a protest as a form of purging. Go out and march. Go out and rescue. There's so many different things that you can get involved in this movement. But let's not take it out on each other. This is a movement about changing and healing the planet, transforming, because it is the lack of love is why we're all sitting here right now. The fact that someone, or I don't know who created this whole dark system that we're part of, but it's love that's going to liberate us from it. And I'm not saying go out and get a tambourine and start, doing kumbaya and all that. I'm not trying to tell you to do that at all. But what I'm just saying is, let's work on ourselves internally within this movement and make sure that we're being kinder to each other, more tolerant of each other, more patient of each other, and again, more forgiving of one another. Use your platform and use it wisely. When you're using your platform and you talk about the animals, it's also beautiful when you talk about the animals and you actually share beauty as well. Because one of the things I've experienced is becoming vegan and in the movement, I experience burnout constantly. And burnout is also a form of depression. It's a form of just being overexerted, doing a lot, doing too much. And one of the things that we should do as a community and do more of is have more gatherings with one another, spending more time with each other. And I'm saying that, and sometimes I don't participate. It's because I'm burnt out. But put yourself first. Because when you're new in this movement, you have this hunger and this desire, and you want to change the world immediately. And you want to be everywhere, and you want to do everything, and you want to be with everybody. But make sure you're taking care of yourselves first, because the animals would want that. The animals would, if anyone has a companion animal or spent any time with an animal, you know that they are extremely loving and forgiving. They wouldn't want us hating one another. They wouldn't want us arguing with each other. They wouldn't want us infighting with each other. They would want us to get this solved so that we can move on to better issues and live a good life. So I say that to say, just try to use your platform in the best way possible. Try not to use it to silence other people. Try to make sure that you're checking in on yourself on a regular basis to make sure that you're not slowly going to the dark side, because you can be in the vegan movement and advocate for animals and still cause a lot of drama. I think we all know what that's like. So please just make sure that you're checking your heart and that you're living from your heart, because I'm telling you, love is the only way we're going to evolve and move on. That's all I have to say. Thank you. Wait a minute.
Personally have known her and gone to her events. Please open your heart, open your mind, and clap it up for Lisa Levinson, everybody. Come on. Don't hold back those claps. Come on.
Thank you so much. It's really an honor to be here and to speak with all of you. And I wanted to take take over where Gwenna left off because I was so moved by Gwenna's presentation. And she was talking about how important it is for us to take care of ourselves. And that's what the Sustainable Activism Campaign is all about. So for several years, I've been managing a support line and talking to people, talking to many activists who've called up to share conflicts they may have had with fellow activists, or perhaps struggles that they have trying to get some of these images that Amy Jean mentioned of the animals that are on their just last moments. And I think these are important connections that we can make with each other, to have that opportunity to debrief so that we don't hold that inside and it becomes grief within us. So we can stay uplifted and we can continue the good work that we do for animals. So I want to encourage each of you to take special care of yourself, because each one of you is so vital to this animal rights movement. Each one of you has your own distinct voice and your own way to do advocacy for the animals. And the animals need you to be their voice in whatever way works for you and uplifts you. So if it feels good to you, then you know it's going to be benefiting the animals and the vegan movement.
The group that put the term animal rights in the public consciousness back in 1980. The group that for 40 years has boldly, unapologetically demonstrated, remonstrated, legislated, and litigated to drive home the point that animals are not ours to eat, to wear, to experiment upon, to use for entertainment, or to abuse in any way. Please welcome wholeheartedly Ingrid Newkirk, everybody.
Thank you, everybody. I want to thank Steve for organizing this and the wonderful march escorts, even if they did leave us standing in the sun sometimes, and for every single person who is here. Thank you for every group that is represented here, and thank you for each and every one of you for showing up, because you are the most powerful force as individuals that anyone has ever known in the fight for animal rights. Thank you. So let's look at some positive things for a minute. We heard about Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus closing down forever. We have got 40 major retailers to ban cashmere, 85 major retailers to ban badger hair. Who even thought about that? And 300 major retailers to ban mohair and angora. Yes. We have stopped the National Institutes of Health experiments on baby monkeys, and we have 5 major pharmaceutical companies that have stopped the forced swim test on animals. It's going. Just recently, Virgin Airlines, British Airways, and United Airlines all decided, because we pressured them as animal rights activists, to stop promoting tours at SeaWorld. So we know why we're here. We're all here because we believe in one fundamental truth. We believe that animals have rights. We believe that animals are not ours. We believe that animals are not lesser beings, but they are fellow living beings. We believe that animals are not like us. They are us. We are all animals, and we never, never, never forget it. We have a lot of work to do to reach our goal of animal liberation, but we're on our way. And we're on our way because we are never, ever silent. And that's why we're drawing closer to a time when everyone will understand what we already know. We have many eyes to open, but we can open them. Alone, each one of us can open some eyes. And if we can get together, we can open enough eyes that every single thing will change when it comes to the treatment of animals. Many of you weren't around in the 60s, so a little history lesson here. In the 60s, those of us who ached to end injustice to people of color, to women, to migrant workers, to gay people, and to poor people came together, and we came together to demand that no one should be disrespected, disregarded, or left behind. Black people risked their lives marching for freedom from oppression in the South. White people risked their lives registering black voters. Office workers, white-collar workers marched with the Farm Workers Union to protest atrocious conditions for migrant laborers. Straight people demanded that the closet doors be flung open, and Peta hired openly gay media spokespersons, which was a first for its time. Able-bodied people lay down in the road to demand disability rights, and women, even queer women, married men to keep them from going to Vietnam and dying. Not long before he was assassinated, one of my heroes at the time was Bobby Kennedy. And Bobby said something that could as well define our movement today. He said this: we must admit the vanity of our false distinctions. We must learn to find our own advancement in search of the advancement of all. We must admit to ourselves that our children's future cannot be built on the misfortune of others. Our lives, he said, are too short. The work to be done is too great to let a mean spirit flourish in this land. Perhaps we can remember, he said, if only for a time, that those who live with us are our brothers and our sisters, that they share the very same short moment of life, that they seek, as we do, nothing but the chance to live out their lives in purpose and happiness, winning what satisfaction and fulfillment they can. Today, we still face the same prejudices, the same age-old problems of exploitation and bias and discrimination and violence. But we have expanded our hearts, and we have added the suffering of other animals to those we will defend. We recognize that human biases and human fears are the underpinning of all forms of discrimination, and that the victim's identity, their physical appearance, their social status, their religion, their nationality, or their species is of no more relevance than the time of day or the change of the seasons. If we expend our efforts, we will win. In the 60s, we chanted, "Make love, not war." And perhaps today, when the human species seems to be at war with all the rest of the species on the planet, we can make that slogan relevant again by loudly rejecting all hatred, all aggression, all bigotry, and showing love for all. One day, it will no longer be acceptable for anyone to look down on or harm without cause or take the very lives of others for their own self-aggrandizement, fleeting pleasure, or just sheer thoughtlessness. We will all realize that we are in this together, from the humble mouse who's eking out her life in the alleyway, to the monkey in the steel laboratory cage, to the donkey pulling a heavy load in the sun. We are indeed brothers and sisters under the skin, no matter what skin we are in. We will bring about animal liberation when we cultivate empathy, when we appreciate animal consciousness, when we activate for change and participate in protests, when we advocate for the rights of all fellow beings and agitate for a kinder world, when we alleviate in everything we say and do at every opportunity all the suffering that we see and hear. We pledge never to mutilate, violate, discriminate, dominate, or humiliate. And we pledge never to hesitate to tell the truth to others because they need to hear this. We will not circumnavigate the plain facts or equivocate because we're too shy or we're too embarrassed to speak up. It is our obligation to speak up. And we must never, ever abrogate our responsibility to facilitate animal liberation now. Let's use our voices and our resources, our social media platform. Let's take at least 3 things we do every single day without fail, a minimum of 3 things, maybe 5, maybe 7 things. You can cook for people, give people vegan food, use stickers on our laptops, our bikes, and our cars, answer every question with patience. We weren't all born vegan. Leave vegan starter kits at stores, on buses, on planes, in gyms, magazine racks. They're just at the right height when you check out of any supermarket. Put stickers on meat and dairy packages. Give cruelty-free gifts. Openly challenge anyone who denigrates animals and make our presence felt wherever animals are incarcerated and abused. Please think of every single thing, seize every single opportunity, and they abound if you look for them, and do it. I leave you with a song that Bryan Adams wrote to commemorate Bobby Kennedy's death. It's called Never Gonna Break My Faith. It's a religious song, but since the best religion of all is kindness, this works if you believe in God, and it works if you simply have faith that if we never ever tolerate what's wrong and never stand silently in the shadows when we need to say something and do something, we will achieve our goal. So good luck to you in all you do, and please do a lot all the time. Thank you. Here is the song.